Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first Dungeon of the Endless Last Man Standing amateur tournament ever. My name is Matt Gambler, and right next to me is our wonderful host, Matt Gambler.
Thanks for having me. Great day for Dungeon of the Endless.
It most certainly is. While this event slightly changes the main game experience due to the special rule set, at the core it obviously still is the game we all know and love.
Indeed. The teams are of course picked at random, and everybody's quite eager to start up already. So let's fire up the RNG and check out exactly what characters will team up on their run through the Dungeon of the Endless.
As Aptarosh, the mysterious entity will be accompanied by Oppot DV8, or Oppot for short, the robotic hobby surgeon.
Gork Butcher Kurosa, the man with the sunglasses, and Mitzi Curtis, both very tough characters who pack quite a punch.
Chef Nanor, who was in fact the prison ship's cook, heads into the unknown aside Josh and Tello, who talks so much and says so little.
Right. Ken Masoki, always ready for a little pain. He will find his way to Lady Larry Tulak's heart. Quite an interesting combo right there. One thirsts for pain, one for dust.
Golgi Pertiba, who is convinced she is a spider, and Trope Kenya, who treats his severe height issues with violence. What a team that is.
Max O'Kane, the greedy explorer, and Dina Ratchet, the nurse, will have to compensate their early weakness with double pistol firepower.
Policewoman Elise Ness, who just loves explosives, will team up with Rakia, who is sent to prison by her own hands if I'm not mistaken. Let's hope they know friend from foe down there.
Sierra Numas, by far the quickest character in the game, got paired with Hikensha, a solid all-round talent who cannot only operate modules but also stand his ground in the fight.
And there she is, the secret character of the game, Ayairi, the merchant's dog and one of her natural enemies, Groik, who normally eats people, I think?
Yep, he does. That, of course, as the RNG comes to a stop, leaves Mormish as the lucky loser. The Warden will act as a silent observer and referee, and will not have to risk his life today. While our brave adventurers most likely will encounter members of the other teams inside the dungeon, those are just shallow clones to help out where needed. By now, the teams are all set up and...
Wait, wasn't there one more character who could have teamed up with Mormish?
While that is true, Krayang, the female Draken, can only be unlocked by purchasing the Endless Legend Founder Pack, which sadly went over our budget.
There also is one more, a robot by the name of Rosetta QV1819, but that somehow female robot has not been released just yet, so just an honorable mention for her.
With that said, it is finally time to enter the dungeon.
Now Matt, while the teams take control of the first few rooms, and for all the viewers who don't know the game just yet, how would you describe it in 3 words?
Wow. Roguelike, tower defense, resource management, semi-turn-based, permadeath, strategy, RPG, dungeon crawler.
That were at least 4 words, I believe.
And even that did not do it. Dungeon of the Endless is one of the very few truly unique games out there that I can call so without doubting my statement. The goal here is to make it through the dungeon and back to the surface, which is a very difficult task no matter how you put it. The subterranean tunnel system is fully randomized, there's a wide variety of dangerous enemies between our teams and the exit, and at the same time they also have to deal with the constant shortage of dust.
Right, we will talk about the various enemies as the game progresses, but for now it's also very important to emphasize what you called semi-turn-based strategy. In short, everything happens in real time, but only once a new door is opened. Enemies can not only appear in a newly discovered room, but also in every other room which isn't powered by dust, meaning that the more you explore, the more dangerous it gets.
Very true, but also the more resources you gain, and you have to acquire as much as possible to be at least somewhat prepared for the later levels. For now, let's focus on what is happening on screen. Following that many teams through the dungeon at the same time might seem a little overwhelming at first, but be assured that Matt and I will not miss any important action, so our viewers can just lean back and enjoy the show.
Detailed build orders as well as current tech progress will be analyzed at the end of each floor, and given the random nature of our teams it can be assumed that the number of remaining heroes will quickly decrease as we reach the higher levels of the dungeon.
By now we've only barely seen each team for a few moments, but this is only the first floor after all, and no matter what character we are talking about, none of them should have a lot of trouble with those first enemy encounters. But what do you think? Are there any clear favorites or underdogs in the current setup?
Underdog? I'm sorry, to answer your question, it's quite hard to tell because of the obvious randomness in this game, and so even the strongest characters could struggle if they get too greedy. Standard turrets are cheap, quite effective early on, and available to everybody right from the start. The thing is, nobody wants to build them if they can avoid it.
Exactly.
Because of this, There is this constant exciting atmosphere of can we get away with not building that? And as my grandma always used to say back in the day, kiddo, your biggest enemy in Dungeon of the Endless is your own greed.
I'm pretty sure she never said that.
To come back to your question once more, I'd say the two most vulnerable characters in the early game probably are Josh and Tello, and obviously Sarah. Simply due to her extremely low HP pool early on. She uses a sword which can easily put her in harm's way. And oh, yeah, see right there?
Yeah, that is a close call right there. They can still use food to heal, but a turret or two might not be such a bad idea. That short moment right there wasn't a screen freeze, by the way. The game can be paused at any time to issue orders or think about a critical decision before making it, and that will be something we will see time and time again, and it is incredibly important to make use of that feature whenever things get too hot.
Absolutely. One more thing to keep in mind is, if you pay attention to Josh's HP bar right here, that our heroes are automatically healed after each fight, but only after every enemy of the current wave has been defeated. There are other means of healing, but they are expensive, and so everybody wants to try to exploit that free healing mechanic as much as possible.
Also, you could argue that food can... Oh, that is two... Wow, 3 leapers right there. And there are no turrets up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a trash mob. Those are elite hero hunters, are they? The pause goes down a little late, and now we see turrets. But this is a nasty, nasty wave to deal with so early. Only 2 turrets will be enough.
Oh, that was quick. Max goes down while Dina runs towards the turret, but still...
Wow, that was so quick. There wasn't even time for a heal. Max and Dina completely caught off guard right there. But it goes to show that every door in Dungeon of the Endless can be your last. The other 8 teams are left with a grim reminder not to overestimate themselves. I am a little speechless, to be honest. That was... wow.
Yeah, we hadn't even had time to talk about different enemy types yet. Well, for starters, the most commonly known is the Crystal Pest, a small floating crystal that simply ignores heroes and goes for the energy core in the starting room. This energy core, yeah, what is it, will be very important in a few moments, but for now let's just say that you don't want anyone to touch it. Similar to the crystals, there's also the Jewel Hunter who does exactly the same but without going down as soon as you look at it. It's quicker, tougher, and remains a serious threat through the whole game. Luckily our adventurers haven't met one of them yet, I think. The other 2 common enemies on the first floors are the Nibbler, who isn't that powerful but appears pretty much everywhere, and the bigger and more dangerous Mod Mosquito, who will not only attack heroes but even major modules if left alone. Now what are major modules?
Right, as soon as you start explaining, there's no quick end in sight. Apologies to our more experienced viewers, but let's just get it out of the way so we can enjoy this as a big community. I wouldn't say that the game is complicated, but rather that it's easy to pick up and hard to master. Characters fight on their own as long as they're in the same room as enemies, and while your first run will most definitely end in a quick death, every run provides players with a few important lessons on what not to do in order to stay alive.
Now major modules are big structures that have been already built in a few rooms for every team. There are quite a few of them, but for now the only important ones are the 3 kinds that generate resources every time a door is opened. There's production, which is used to build major and minor modules, research, which unlocks and upgrades them, and food, which is used for emergency heals and to level up your heroes.
Right. Now there is more to it, but you will be able to figure out most of it by watching, and pretty soon the remaining 8 teams will head for the exit, as Sarah already opened the last door just now.
Yeah, she did, but there are quite a few empowered rooms in this floor already, and even though she turned around to run as soon as the door was open, that short moment was enough for her to take quite a considerable amount of damage.
Yeah, but they are aware of it, and right now turrets and dust field generator are going down to make sure nothing funny happens. Still, just returning to Hikensha, she already lost half of her HP as she's still level 1.
And that is exactly the fragile nature of hers I mentioned earlier.
It is a solid strategy to focus on leveling up one of both characters first to unlock those key abilities like Operate, but on the other hand it leaves the second hero very vulnerable in the early phase. But the turrets do good work and they should be fine after... Oh, Jesus, look at all those nibblers. I'm not convinced they can take out that many even with the turret supporting them, but... Sarah obviously thinking the same, but deciding to go back in, I do not know how smart that is.
But they realize it too, they need to back out and throw down more turrets. Even if those are just nibblers, Sarah and Hikensha are already on death's door, and spending production and extra turrets is probably cheaper now than spending food on heals here. The Mod Mosquito stays back, but that's not enough. Those turrets will merely weaken those mobs. Now is not the time to save resources. God damn it.
Don't worry so much, Matt. We still have 7 more teams.
Still a quite severe misjudgment there from Sarah and Hikensha. I'm not sure if... Well, I guess they might have just underestimated the sheer number of those nibblers.
Well, in the meantime, more and more teams open the final doors of this very first floor. And just to be clear, as long as you already found the exit, it is not actually necessary to open every door. But especially in the first and rather easy floors, most teams usually clear every room, simply because every open door means another turn for those major modules to produce those incredibly valuable extra resources.
Yes, but if you choose to do so, you have to figure out how to defend appropriately. Every strategy is a good strategy if you survive in the end, but that very balance between wasting resources and being just plain greedy is what makes this game so challenging. And if Sarah and Hikansha had survived by some stroke of luck, then I would have been extremely impressed by their ability to edge out that little bit extra.
I guess that's what Alicia tries to do at this moment. Look at that, that is very dangerous. Are we...
Wow, even leveling up, what is she thinking?
Yeah, she can't even heal. She spent all her food on leveling up. Is this?
Damn!
That woman does not want to die, but where is Rakia? At least here perfectly exploiting the fact that combat can only take place in rooms but not in doorways. But that is so risky. Rakia only now showing up, probably had to leave a module she was operating. But with her appearing, the mobs finally lose interest in Elise, who was so close to going down, my god.
Well, remember what I said, every strategy is a good strategy if you're alive in the end. Still, she probably was in deep panic mode right there.
Probably, yeah.
Alright, now the teams are setting up to make a run for it, and there is one more thing that needs to be explained. Finding the exit is great, but to leave the floor, every team has to pick someone to carry the energy core from the starting zone all the way to the exit, while hell breaks loose all around them. As soon as the energy core is touched, every unpowered room becomes a spawning area, and from that point onwards, there is no return, no end to the enemy waves, and everything left to do then is run.
Carrying the energy core also slows down a hero considerably, so it remains to be seen if every team can make it. I hope you guys are ready, because our teams are going for it right now. Rakia and Elise should have a fairly easy run to the exit, as there are only 2 unpowered rooms to be aware of. Also, Elise can even block one off by standing in it, which also denies enemy spawning.
Teams that have built turrets earlier benefit now from them as well, as long as the rooms were still powered when the energy core was removed from its socket. All in all, quite an easy run.
Josh and Anor get lucky with a very short path to the exit. Surprisingly unspectacular performance on this first floor. Some turrets, some operating, solid first impression.
Golgi and Troy have to deal with a lot of different attack angles and many unpowered rooms, but at least Troy is a little quicker than Rakia and Nanor, and Golgi takes care of him, spider style.
Septarosh and Oppard managed pretty early to establish a choke point with turrets to fall back to, which made floor 1 quite easy to deal with for the two of them.
Skroig and Ayairi interestingly decided for the slower Ayairi to be the crystal carrier, probably to get that little bit of extra food out of Skroig's Soylent Green ability. Soylent Green provides 0.2 food for every kill Skroig gets. Total payoff? 1.2 food. Worth, right?
And finally, there are Gork and Mitzi, the slowest team in our lineup, but also probably the one with the most firepower. Mitzi carries the crystal and Gork? He's Gork. By the way, he also has the Soylent Green ability. His payoff during the final run, 3.4 food. Might not sound like much, but that is 17 kills against the 6 of Skroig. With a little help of some turrets, of course.
Oh, and we almost forgot Ken. But don't worry, he's having way too much fun for now.
Great, now let's check the numbers real quick, although there won't be that much to see yet. To clarify, yes, there are 4 resources in the game, and yes, there are only 3 of them listed here. The reason for this is that dust, which is needed to power rooms, is not carried over to the next floor, so there would be no point in paying attention to it here.
Build-wise, there wasn't a lot of variety, almost everybody starting out with industry followed up by either science and food. The one exception were Rakia and Elise, who apparently refused to swim with the mainstream.
I would love to say something smart about the current meta now, but I'll let you in on a little secret instead. All these teams are controlled by the same person, namely our good friend, you guessed it, Matt Gambler.
What a great guy he is.
Yeah, because of that it's totally possible that everybody else starts with double science, I don't know. Regarding tech, there also wasn't a lot of development yet, but we decided nonetheless to summarize all of it under the 4 main categories. Or would you really want to know every researched minor module for each of the 7 remaining teams? I seriously don't know. It's kinda hard to tell how different it is if you only watch this short video instead of playing every run from start to finish.
So if you made it all the way to here, take a second and let us know what you liked and what you disliked, as we would seriously appreciate some feedback from you guys. There are a few more floors to come after all, and we really want them to be as great as possible.
Oh, and while you're at it, tell us which team you want to win. I will totally not change the outcome.
He's actually serious when he says that.
For now, GLHF, and we'll make sure to bring you floor 2 ASAP. Matt Gambler, signing out. My cough had become worse, and after almost a week we got raided again and Pablo got wounded quite badly, and we had no bandages, no painkillers. All we could do was splash some fucking moonshine on the wound 3 times a day, while Matei fed all our meds into that bottomless pit. So see you later, Mrs. Spider. As she's gone, of course, panic mode sets in, and spastically shaking left and right helps us to break free and get away.